What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of, you guessed it, Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had a blessed week. I definitely did, and I'm so glad that you decided to sit down with us tonight. Tonight, as usual, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Miss Tish Winkler. She's an author. She's a podcaster. She is a community activist. She works with youth. You name it, she does it. And we're going to sit down with her today and just kind of see the who's, what's, and whys of what she does. Okay. For those of you who may not be familiar with Miss Tisha, I'm going to give her a moment to kind of reintroduce herself and just give a little background to who she is and some of the things that she has going on. So with that being said, Miss Tish, the floor is yours.
Oh, yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Tisha Winkler. I mean, a lot of people call me Tisha, though. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I've been here all my life. I am an author of 3 books. Just a Thought, a poetry book by Barbie M. Johnson. The Hopeful Romantic is another poetry book I have. And My Journey Here Was Not Easy is my life story. And that publisher is Kelly Cruz. I started writing, I guess, around about the age of 12 years old, but I didn't publish my book until I was in my 30s. And I also have been doing podcasting for 2 years. I started off on the Book Breakers with my publisher, Barbie Johnson, on the Book Breakers podcast. And we did that for like a year. Then I started off with Robert C. Rolock, and I was his co-host on What a Difference a Day Make on the Coyote Man Show Network. And actually on that podcast, we interviewed people in the community, pastors, and we mostly talked about depression and trauma. And my last podcast that I was on the Coyote Man Show Network was the Save the Youth podcast and the Chemo Tap Youth Foundation. I was the host, and the co-host was Little Coyote and Deja. And I worked with these amazing youth on the Coyote Man Show Network, where we interviewed people in the community and just people in the community and young people to inspire young people that they could do anything they want to do and have inspiring careers.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's start from the beginning. So you are an author. You've written 3 books. I understand 3, right?
Yeah, 3. Yes, 3.
So what made you write the first book? Like, was that always your plan, or was that something that was a surprise to you?
No, actually, it was a surprise. It's all actually really started. It was God's plan. But even when I was younger, my mother used to take me to the bookstore. Like, I think she might have took me to the bookstore like about twice a month. My mother will always take me to the library to get books, so she really inspired me, to read books. And when I was like in school, I always did very well in my English classes, but my grammar and my editing was a little off. That's why I need a publisher.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of us write how we speak. I do that too sometimes, depending on who I'm speaking to. Because most people get it. There are a few that don't, so I have to kind of like get a little proper. So I get it. I understand.
You said proper? Okay, yeah.
A little proper,
Proper.
Yes, ma'am. So so you write your first book. What was the reception for the first book? Like, how did people receive it? What type of feedback were you getting?
Oh, I've really, even when I actually did 16 years as an assistant teacher in the Head Start program.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with children with disabilities now. But even during that time, I used to write a lot of poems. And my coworkers, I really thank God for them. They always inspired me. They're like, you need to write the book. You need to write a book. And I wasn't paying them no mind. Because during that time, I really didn't want to write a book. But I had so many things in my folders and my notebooks. I had so many poems. I had over 400 poems. And during that time, I worked with my good friend now, but we started off in Head Start together. She was my teacher at the time. And she actually started off as an author, then publisher. And she was like, you need to write your book. But I still wasn't ready. But not until my mom passed away 5 years ago, I wrote my first book during the first pandemic.
Okay.
Yes.
It's amazing how sometimes tragedy can be the greatest motivator. I definitely can relate to that. Um,
Yes.
going forth into your second, then you go into the second book, or you go into the second book. What was the mindset at that point? Did you feel like a full-fledged author at that point, or
Oh
were you still?
yeah. Yes, I will say I had so much feedback with my first book, Just a Thought. I think I bought like 3 boxes of books. I mean, people in my church, people in my family. I mean, I had so many people inspire me. They were buying the books, and I really appreciate their help. They really supported me during that time, even with my second book.
Mhm.
But when the second book came out, I felt so confident. I was like, yes, I can do this.
Understood. Understood. So, um, if you had to name one thing that stuck out in your mind, um, was there a situation where a person came to you and told you, how their book changed their life, or maybe they were thinking of doing something out of character, but they read your book, or have you had those type of experiences yet?
Yes, one of my good friends and one of my church members, well, she was going through a tough time in her relationships, and she
Mhm.
said, "Doing my first book, that because my first book, my father said it make you cry, but it really inspires people that you can, come through your challenges and the things that you go through." And my good friend said it really inspired her during the time where she was having hardship, and she said it kept reminding her if I could get through it, she could get through it too.
Absolutely. And so what do those moments do for you? Like, how do you what do you take from those moments? Like, when you get
Well,
home? Yeah.
oh yeah, I take for those moments. I don't take it lightly because it feels good to be used by God that you can inspire others. Because I'm not gonna sit here and lie, the struggle be real sometimes. Sometimes I might have to pick my book up and read to myself
Wow.
the
Okay.
same thing that I wrote.
Right, right. And that was gonna be a question I was gonna ask you. Do you read your own writing?
Yes, I do. From time to time, if I'm really going through something, I have to maybe reflect. I'm like, wait a minute, let me read this and see if it inspired me. And sometimes it does. I have to keep on like reading pages, and it gives me hope that I can move through whatever situation I'm going through at the time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Who are you most surprised to find out um had heard of you or heard of your book?
I'm really surprised that many people like on my social media, because I post it all the time. I'm surprised that they know. And when I went on, I was surprised too when I went on Amazon for my second book, The Hopeful Romantic. It was just funny because someone had gave me a 5-star rating. I didn't know who it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So so your poetry, like what does it mostly deal with? Like, are you, like, I guess by the name of hopeful romantic, I mean, I guess maybe it's love or relationships, but what do you find usually inspires you to even write?
I really think what really motivates me, inspires me to write, because I'm very transparent what I have went through. Choosing the wrong people in my relationships, and
Mhm.
sometimes I may have done some things too. I mean, I'm very transparent that some things I could have changed in my relationships that I didn't do, and it wasn't very successful at the time. And even in my book, The Hopeful Romantic, it actually gives people inspiration that you can have healthy relationships even when you go through betrayal. There's still one day that you might find that true love, and I love love stories.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and you also are a podcaster. So
Oh yes.
you're my competition. No, I'm just joking.
No,
Um,
that's not the competition. No, no. I know
so
so many podcasters out there, and I support them all.
that's amazing. You
Yeah.
so you so you how long have you been podcasting, and what made you, start get into that industry?
Oh goodness. Actually, it's funny. I keep telling this story, but I know God has everything under control. But it was actually a mistake. Me
Oh,
and my
wow.
publisher, yeah, it was a mistake. I mean, it might not have been a mistake for God, but we wouldn't think about doing podcasting. We had went to the mall one day. So my publisher, Barbie M. Johnson, she wanted to buy some shoes at Security Square Mall. And we
Okay.
saw all these flashing lights. And I was like, let's go down to that arcade. Not knowing it was the Coyote Man Show Network where they do podcasts, acting, they have photo shoots. And
Hmm.
actually, I think 2 weeks later, we did get a photo shoot done. And the Coyote Man, he asked us, it would be so great because Bobby was a publisher at the time and I was an author. He said, y'all should get a podcast on here called The Book Breakers. And he said, you can really inspire a lot of authors, publishers, people in the community. And he said, I really see y'all going further and where you're at right now. And that's how it all started.
And so, what has being a podcaster, even though you didn't initially set out to be that, what do you feel? How do you feel it's helped you? Going forward, like what if you could name one thing? What's one thing that you learned about yourself in this process that you might not have known prior to going into it?
It really made me feel confident that I could really inspire others. And I love working with people in the community. I love giving feedback. And I just love sharing my story with others. And I love hearing other people's story because sometimes it can change my life. But the
Mhm.
main thing it really helped me with is my speaking engagements because when I was younger, I actually had a stuttering problem. So it really made me feel confident that I can really do what I was called to do. But even
Okay.
back then, I couldn't talk very well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it kind of happens organically.
Yeah.
Um, like the same thing with me. I find now that I've started doing podcasting that I hold conversations better. I'm able to hold conversations better because I'm doing it all the time. So I definitely get what you're saying. I definitely get where you're going with that. So so being an author and a podcaster, does one help the other, or and how do they ever intersect? Do they ever cross paths? The podcasting Tish and the author Tish.
Yes, I would like to say it has really changed my life because even this year, even last year, and I was the store podcaster last year. I won 3 awards from the Newsom Awards.
Okay,
I
okay.
won last year Newsom World's Most Beautiful Woman. This year, Newsom Author and Promoter of the Year, female promoted
Excuse
author
me.
of the year.
Excuse me. Excuse me, Miss Beautiful Woman. I get it. I get it. I get it. Mhm. So what has that done for you? Like, be now, it's one thing to be able to do a thing, but then to be celebrated for how you do that thing is a totally different animal. So how does it feel to be an award-winning podcaster?
Um, no, actually, I was a promoter of the year, promoter and author of the year.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
Well, that's
so
okay. But keep you can
what
speak
was
into existence.
not okay? So what did that do for you, just to be able to be recognized as as the best, for that given time period? Like I said, it's one thing to be able to do a thing, but it's a totally different thing when other people recognize you to the point where they give you an award and they recognize you publicly.
Yes, I was so amazed. I was so excited. Even during that time, I was still grieving my mom. Even during that time, I was living with I might think I was still living with my father and stepmother during the time. So it was a lot of things in my life that, it was things out of my control that I was really going through. But it
Mhm.
inspired me to keep pushing, keep thriving. Because sometimes I might be up like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sharing people Facebook page. I'm
Mhm.
promoting others. And it felt so good, even though I was promoting others, to be recognized for what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's why I love, I love this. I love being a part of people's journey. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're doing their thing, and I like to be like a, maybe a twist or a turn in their journey. That's awesome. So going forward, what's is there? Do you have a plan? Do you have a goal in mind going forward?
Yes, I had so many plans that I write down a lot of things, my visions that I really want to do. Actually, one of my goals, and it's not too hard, but others might see it might be very challenging. I want my own radio show.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I want my own radio or like podcast show because I like talking.
Okay. I mean, that's one of the keys to it. You got to be able to, what I'm saying, have the gift of gab, I suppose. Um, why radio?
This is the funny thing. Ever since I've been doing podcasting now, I love the way I love cameras, lights, and action. I ain't gonna sit and lie about that part. I like that part, but I really like the exposure that it gives others. I like hearing my own voice. I like hearing other people their inspirational stories. And I mean, I'm actually thinking about taking a class for marketing and promotion.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Like you aspire to do a certain thing, right? But in the midst of doing that thing, you realize that there are parts of it that you never paid attention to at first. But now
Mhm.
that you're doing it, you have to pay attention to those other things, and you realize that you actually like doing those things too. Like you said, like marketing and promoting. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That's part of the package. But that's the interesting thing about, when you are following vision. Sometimes it takes you places you weren't prepared for. It's always a interesting or a new twist or turn. So that's awesome. I definitely can relate to you on that. So what role has your family played in your whole journey?
I will say, even though I say I lost my mother 5 years ago, she was very supportive. I mean, she was supportive to the last day she took her last breath. But my family, like my father, my family, I also have a women's group called the Voice for the Voiceless Women's Ministry,
Mhm.
and I just get a lot of feedback from them all the time. I mean, I'm learning now as I'm getting older. I know how to take constructive criticism,
Mhm.
but I have been getting so much love and support, and I just thank everyone on this journey who's been following me.
Amazing. Amazing. Um, the voice of the voiceless. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, what led you to that? I have to take my hat off to anybody who chooses to take on to help to the burdens of like people who are abused and people who are going through a tough time, particularly women in their relationships and things of that nature. So what's the story behind Voice of the Voiceless?
Oh, actually, it's funny. I mean, it's not funny to me, but it's funny. But when my mom first passed away, because I always been, I'm not afraid to say it. I always been hearing from God. I am a prophet.
Mhm.
When my mom first passed away, during that time, I was really going through a lot of challenges and battles, and I heard God said, "You're going to be in charge of a women's group." I was like, I don't like women like that. You know that they have attitudes. I have attitude too. I want to be involved with them women.
Wow.
But God said my pastor was going to reach out to me. I said, well, if she reach out to me, she going to have to tell me because I'm not doing anything.
Right.
So my pastor had messaged me that same day and said, God just gave me a vision that you're going to be in charge of the women's group at the church I was residing at the time. And I did it for 2 years there at the church. But when God had led me to like another ministry, he gave me a name, the Voice for the Voiceless Ministry Fellowship. And we meet like every 3 months. We might meet at different places. We might meet at my house. We might meet at other homes, churches. But this month we're going to meet at a restaurant.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And so what's the mission? What's the purpose of the program?
The purpose and the mission of the program, we come together for healing. We might have different speakers. I might speak, I might get others to speak, but the main vision of the Voice for the Voiceless ministry is healing, hope, and to give women an outlet where they can be free. And that even though most women don't like to speak on the things they're going through, I thank God that I can be the voice that He can use to help them get their hurt and their pain, just give them healing and just to come together with fellowship, knowing that they're not alone.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So usually, like, how on average, how many women do you actually meet with? Like on average, like.
Well, it's funny because I'm also in another women's group. It's called Hidden Treasures, but it's the director is Pamela Duffins, and she had about 12 women in her group. And I'm not gonna say here a lot. Most of the time, the people in her group they be in my group. So most time I might have 10. I might have a limit of 10 right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. And so, what does that do for you? Like, how do you when you what does that do for you once you sit down with these women and you hear their stories and you laugh with them, you cry with them, you pray for them, you walk with them, you talk with them, you know what I'm saying, you help them through the toughest times of their life. What does that do for you? How does that affect you?
It really affects me because I actually am very transparent with them. I don't always get it right. For 20 years, I have suffered with depression and suicide. So I think I'm really qualified to talk about those situations I have been through. So when we come together, it's like taking your hat off, taking your shoes off. We're going to be comfortable and it's going to be in a place where you can be free to talk about what you're really going through.
Wow. And that's what many of us need, man. We need that time to kind of let our hair down and
yes,
not be so formal and just say, hey, this is what's going on with me. So that's always important. That's always an important thing that we all need.
Yes.
Man, woman, boy, girl. So going forward, what would you say is the best advice you've received and the worst advice you've received since you've been?
I think the best advice I have ever received is always remain humble, always remain reachable, and never get so high-minded that you forget about people. Because I love people. I don't care where you're at. I still even catch. I mean, I don't even have a car right now, but I know that's coming down the line. But I could be on the bus. I talk to everybody. And I just want to remain humble and just to be a vessel God can use. But most of all, I just want to be a person that people can look at and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Wow.
And the worst advice, oh Lord, the worst advice someone ever told me was, you need to stop what you're doing because I don't think you're going to go very far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody actually told you that?
Yes, actually, when my first book came out, I'm not going to put the person name up, but I had so much criticized about this person. They said my book had errors, and I mean, if I would have been a very weak-minded person, I probably would have stopped about what I was doing. But look at it now. I didn't let it stop me.
It's amazing. That is amazing. So, the things that we go through and the things that we experience they test us, but they also show us who we are. Sometimes because sometimes we aren't aware. You know what I'm saying? And it takes these type of things to expose how strong and how resilient we truly are. So I definitely get that. What role has your faith played in your journey?
Well, I will say my faith has really made a difference in my life because if you see some of the things that I have been through in my 48 years, I don't think I should be here right now. Because I can't blame other people for some of the things I have went through. Some of it was a lot of errors and mistakes that I had to go through myself that I might have had a part to play in. But I really think my faith in God has brought me a long way and has really brought me through some amazing doors. And I have I just give God thanks that I have been meeting so many amazing people this year and throughout my journey.
Wow. Yeah. I tell people often that faith um picks up where your common sense leaves off.
Yeah.
It's the bridge between your breakthrough. The faith is the bridge between common sense and breakthrough. Because you get to that point where your common sense is like, okay, I see this happening. This is going on right here. I don't have to wonder. It's right here. So why am I even moving? Because I can see this obstacle here and I can see this obstacle there. But faith is that extension that says, okay, my common sense is telling me to stop, but my faith is telling me to go ahead because I know who strengthens me, and I know that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So your faith, faith is kind of that bridge, and then that's why it's so important. That's why God chose to give us all a measure of faith, because He knew that we needed it because if we didn't have it, our common sense would have us sitting down, saying, "I ain't dealing with this,"
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So has the book or the podcasting taken you, caused you to travel? Like, what has it done for you? Does it take you, out of town, in and out of town? Has it taken you international? Has it put you in the room with great men and women? Like, what is this vessel? How has this vessel, affected your life? Where is it taking you?
Well, I keep prophesying it to me right now because God keeps showing me I'm gonna be going around the town and going around the world pretty soon. I would just like well this year, and I was just so excited because this year I have reached with God's help over 90,000 people on Facebook around the world.
Mm.
And I mean, like Egypt and Jamaica. I mean, it was a whole lot of countries. I was surprised. I was like, "Yes, Lord." I said, "When you do something, you do it big."
Absolutely.
I haven't really been out of town yet with like speaking engagements, but I know it's coming. But I have been on many. I think I've been on like might have been over like 20 podcasts now, and some of them might be from like different cities and different states. And while I was on the Coyote Man Show Network, I actually did a podcast from the United Kingdom.
Wow. What was
Yeah.
that like?
Actually, they were talking about different podcast networks and how the network comes together. So I actually was like, I was just like a spokesperson for the Coyote Man Show Network when I had went on that podcast and just talk about some of the things they did on the podcast and how they run the shows.
How has what kind of reception have you gotten from other podcasters?
Oh yes, a lot of I have met so many people that's podcasters now. Sometimes I go on their podcast, and actually sometimes they might have been on the podcast we're on, and I have really met so many amazing podcasters out here now.
And it's always been love, always been friendly.
Oh, it's always been love. It's always been friendly. I even share their shows.
Absolutely.
I share their shows.
As you should.
And guess what?
What's that?
Even when I was on the Coyote Man Show Network, me and my other host and my other host that I was on, we had a couple people that were like movie directors, and actually they have movies out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're connecting with people from all genres of entertainment and just life.
Yeah.
And that's the key, having a diverse group of people that you can pull from and learn from, and they can learn from you. So that's definitely a great thing. So what would you, in this whole journey that you've been on, what would you say is the most common misconception that people have about you?
I think the most common misconception people have about me, and I think a lot of people might think I boast a lot. But it's a difference between boasting and giving God glory, because if people know what I came from, and I'm not afraid to share it. For a couple years, me and my mother went through poverty. So when if I had more than $5 in my pocket, I'm a brag. I don't care. I'm a brag on God, because I know all the open doors He has sent my way. I might be on it there. I know that I'd be getting on their nerves. I'd be tagging. I'd be on there all day long sometimes. But I just give God glory.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, you seem so content and you seem so happy. You know what I'm saying? So you're happy with the direction that you've been going in at this point. So
Yeah.
would that be safe to say?
Yeah, from time to time, but I think sometimes I might get a little cranky, because I'm like, Lord, where my Boaz at? That's all the time I get like, woo, come on now.
It don't have nothing to do with you with. Right, nothing to do with what you're doing. How you reach
I know.
I understand. I understand. So do you think that men are intimidated by, all the things that you have going on?
I wouldn't say most men, because it's a lot of confident men out there that they know that what they're doing and they're making a difference. But I did have one comment after me talking about I was in competition with him. I'm like, man, competition with you? I said, I ain't getting paid yet. I said, what's there could be intimidated about? I said, now when I'm getting paid now, that's something to get intimidated about.
Right. Wow. What would you say people would be most surprised to know about you?
I think some people will be very surprised to know that I'm very shy sometimes. And even when I was on the Coyote Man Network, I mean, it might not look like it, but I had to go to the bathroom like about 5 or 8 times. My nerves was like shattered. But once that 5 minutes was over, it was like, bam, God was like, girl, okay, it's like the Holy Spirit showed up.
Oh my gosh. You are so transparent. And I love it. I love it. Are people kind of put off sometimes by just how transparent and how open you are? Like, do you have to like explain to people like, this is me, this is how I do things? Like, do you ever find yourself feeling like you've rubbed people the wrong way?
Yes, I have done that many times, but I have learned even through this journey, because I ain't gonna say how like I might be over aggressive sometimes, because even with my publisher, we like things done a certain way, and we like to do things in excellence. So that might really intimidate people too, because I don't like just going out there looking like a fool. We like to get things together.
Right.
Have the guest list ready. You want to have things prepared before you do anything.
Absolutely.
So I love preparation.
Absolutely. Yeah, like people they say they want you to be confident, but sometimes they don't mean it. At least all of our perspectives are different. We have our different definitions of what certain words mean or whatever. That's interesting. So would you say that you are a stop and smell the roses person, or are you the type of person that's okay, I finished one project, on to the next?
Oh yeah, I think I'm right. I wasn't like that years ago, because I used to stick on one project and just be like, it'd be dragging and dragging. I'm like, oh goodness. But now I'm like, okay, if that didn't work, okay, let's go. Next step. Okay, we're going over here to do this now. But I will say, even with doing projects, I thank God that I'm getting some tasks complete right now. So my next task now is completing my 4 classes for my AA degree.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I wish you much blessings on that.
Yes, thank you.
Education. We all need that. We all definitely need that. So we are here on Let's Take a Walk, and I'm sitting here with Miss Tisha Winkler. She's an author. She's a podcaster. She is a host. Um, the most beautiful host, apparently. From what they're telling me, she's the most beautiful host for this year. So she took it one step further. She's doing the most. But we're sitting here, we're talking with her about her literary journey as well as her podcast journey and just her overall journey working with women who are dealing with trauma and abuse and just a lack of healing. And I just find it so interesting, and I was just saying how open that Miss Tisha is, and I think that some people might kind of like look at that with a side eye, but that's kind of what we need nowadays. We need people that are honest and authentic in their personality, and those are the ones that actually get things done. So I definitely respect you and your movement. So who
Thank you.
absolutely. So who at this point in your career, who would you say is your biggest influence?
My biggest influence, I have so many. Well, I could name one. I will say my biggest influencer, and she might be listening tonight. Her name is Dr. Angela Marshall.
Okay.
And actually, she gives me so much inspiration because I don't want to cry, but during the time when I was writing, I think I had finished my first book. She actually invited me on her podcast 3 years ago, and that was my first live podcast I had ever been on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Angela, shout out to you.
So you never want to when you're on a journey, you never want to forget the people who have really inspired you to go further.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have made it a personal mission for myself to acknowledge anybody who has done anything positive for me, even if it's something that other people might consider small. I try to catch it and be able to say, hey, look, I thank you for, you know, whatever, giving me that pencil when I needed to write. I needed to borrow a pen and you gave me a pen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because a lot of people, what we don't realize is that it's unfortunate that many of us transition to heaven before we even know how much we have impacted people's lives. You know what I'm saying? So personally, I want to be the one to say, hey, you impacted my life in a positive way. So if nobody tells you that, I'm going to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
definitely. I think that's so important. And we don't do it enough. We don't say thank you enough. We don't acknowledge people enough for their position in our life. Because for in a lot of situations we wouldn't be where we are or even who we are without them.
Yes.
So absolutely. So going forward, are there any more books to come? Can we look for more poetry? Can we look for more, shows and content from you?
Yes, actually, I don't think I mentioned this. When I was in college, I failed English 101. I failed it 3 times with an F.
Really?
Yeah, so I just want to give people hope on that part. Never give up on your dreams. But yes, I'm actually working on 2 children books right now. They're almost completed. I just have to, get it formatted, to publish it.
Mhm.
My publisher does all that. And actually, I'd like to give a shout out to my assistant. I never want to forget her, Joanna Hope Falcon. She always helped me with all of my books when it's typing time. She gets all my books together. She types it, and she gets it to the Microsoft, and she submits to the publishers for me.
Nice, nice. It's always important to have a team because it's hard to be creative when you have to do everything. So
Yes.
that's definitely a blessing that that you have a squad that loves and supports you and is willing to do what needs to be done so that you can be successful. That's awesome. That's awesome. So this is really my last official question, Miss Wink.
Yeah.
I got one last question for
Oh,
you.
sure.
And it's a question that I ask all my guests. So I want you to take a moment, think about it, and give me the most honest and transparent answer that you're going to can give me. And I know I don't got to tell you that, but that's just what
Okay.
that's part of the spiel. So I'm gonna do it anyway. So here's the question: what would have to happen in your life for you to consider your life a success? What does success look like for you specifically?
Ooh, mhm. Well, success in my life, hmm, I think success in my life will look like traveling around the world. I
Mm,
mean, I know right now that God has had me in a level of success, but just traveling around the world and just being that missionary that God has said I was going to be doing anyway with the orphanages, I
mhm.
will say that will be the greatest success for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, that's cool. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, maybe they want to purchase your
Sure.
book, maybe they want you to maybe expand on something that you said here, or maybe they just want some advisement or whatever. How can they get in touch with you?
Yes, you can get in touch with me at Tisha Winkler 57 at gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Tisha Winkler on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram and I'm TikTok, and both of the medias is also Tisha Winkler. Or you can reach out to me locally at 410-419-9960. And my book, The Hopeful Romantic, and My Journey Here Was Not Easy. The books and ebooks, they are available on Amazon.com.
Wow. Okay. Well, Miss Tish, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for being so honest and transparent. And I wish you many blessings on everything that you have going on, because I can already tell that even as we sit here, your mind is churning, and you got other things that you haven't even mentioned on here. Probably
Yeah.
in the in the fire. So yeah, I wish you much blessings on what you're currently doing, and what you haven't even started yet. I wish you much blessings on, and the things that you have started. I wish blessings on that too.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I just see you going further too. And thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to leave you with an open invitation. Anytime that you have something that you want to promote, anything that any events, anything that you're trying to highlight or illuminate, please let us know, and we'll do this again. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk about it, and let people know, hey, this is what Miss Tish is doing.
Oh, thank
Let's
you.
absolutely, absolutely. So again, I thank you, and I appreciate you, coming on and sharing your wisdom with us tonight. I know I definitely learned some things, and I definitely laughed too. Um,
Yeah, I'm a laughing bug. I'm sorry.
well, never apologize for that. That's absolutely a plus. I definitely appreciate that. We all need that. It's laughter is good for you. It keeps you young. Keeps you
Yeah.
young. So with that being said, we're gonna sign off. But I thank you again, and I wish you an amazing night and an even more awesome weekend. And again, many blessings on everything that you have going on going forward.
Well, thank you. And you have an amazing night too. And be blessed. Thank you so much.
No problem. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
There you have it, guys. Another great, amazing interview with another great, amazing guest, Miss Tisha Winkler. She's an author. She's a advocate for women. She's a podcaster. You name it, she does it, man. And that's what it's all about, being diverse, having multiple skills in your wheelhouse, multiple streams of income, that type of thing. Excuse me. And as always, I implore you all, I encourage you every show. I beat this horse. If there is a vision that God has given you that keeps you up at night, that you just see so clear, step out, do that thing, because as we know, where God gives vision, he provides provision. So step out, do that thing, write that book, write that song, write that script, get that degree. You know what I mean? Look for that new job, get that training that you need. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, step out. If there's a business idea, an invention, anything that you feel that God has given you, step out on it. And I'm telling you, it will amaze you how things will work out. People will begin to sow into what you're doing. People will begin to donate things to you that you thought you would never be able to afford. People will just give it to you, or they're donate it to you, or give it to you at an exaggerated discount. You know, um, but you got to step out. You got to go. That's the operative word. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go, and just do what God is telling you to do. You got to move where God is wanting you to move, in the direction that he wants you to move in. Because, as I often say, there is a remnant of folks that are depending on you to make certain decisions in order for them to reach their ultimate destiny. So when you really think about it, it's really even a greater mandate than what we initially think. Because not only are we living for us, we're living for those that God has saw fit to attach to us. So that should inspire us or motivate us to be even more purposeful, to be even more passionate, to be even more motivated to go and do whatever it is that you're seeing, because it's just that important, particularly for our community, our community, the African American community, the Black and the Brown, because there's always a stigma attached to us, no matter what stage of life we're at. So it's important for us to be as skilled, as equipped, as prepared, as trained up as we can possibly be, so that we can be successful. How you doing, Miss Rivera? Good evening to you. I don't mean to come off like I'm preaching, but I'm really truly passionate about this, and you know, this podcast is definitely a product of what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I started out with a single ring light and a couple of my friends, and it's grown into something that I can see is going to be even greater. It has the potential to be even greater. And once you add God to the mix and sprinkle him into the mix, it becomes exponentially greater. I'm going to use the big word, exponentially greater than what we could ask or think, if we just believe and obey and do what we need to do to go forth, because it's just that important. It just is. It just is. So with that being said, man, before I go, I want to shout out Miss Tanita Brinkley. She is the founder of the Secure the Bag Conference. The 4th annual Secure the Bag Conference is tomorrow in Virginia Beach, and I believe 2014 Atlantic Avenue. Now, this conference is for small business owners, entrepreneurs, to come and do workshops, and they will be connecting and networking. I will be doing press there. I'll be interviewing some of the panelists. The keynote speaker will be Dame Dash. So hopefully we'll be able to pull him to the side for a second or two, and maybe we'll get to ask him a few questions. I'm supremely nervous because up to this point, this platform has been purely virtual. This will be the first live event that I'll be doing, and so I'm nervous on many levels. But however, I would be a hypocrite if I did not. If I told you guys to go and I refuse to go. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to do it fearful. I'm going to do it scared. I'm going to do it nervous, because I know that on the other end of that is going to be a supreme blessing, even more than what I can imagine. So y'all pray for me, man. And if you're in the neighborhood, if you're a small business owner, please come and buy it, come get a ticket, and what I'm saying, go online and securethebag.com and purchase your ticket, man, and be in the midst, man. It's going to be a great event. This is the 4th year that they've been doing it. Again, shout out to Miss Tanita Brinkley. She is the founder and the head of this great event. So shout out to her. And like I said, I'm looking forward to it. For it on so many different levels, because I know that this is just the beginning. So, with that, I will bid you guys adieu. And thank you, Miss Joyce. I thank you for the encouragement. I truly appreciate it. With that being said, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. I hope that you have an amazing rest of the weekend, and pray for me. All right. Take it easy, and let's take a walk.